welcome and hi to all of you future economies. My name is Nur Anissa binti Sukor. Today, my group is going to be presenting about 5 conventional macroeconomics objectives. And we will focus on the country Malaysia, which is our own country, to discuss whether or not this country has achieved all or maybe any of the macroeconomics objectives. We initially need to keep in mind that each objective needs an indicator to look into. The first indicator I'm going to be discussing is the unemployment rate. It tells us about the number of people who don't have jobs. Politicians and economists refer to this indicator to determine the achievement of full employment in a country. Yes, the first objective is meeting full employment level. We have to ensure that the unemployment is as low as possible while the employment is at the highest. It is a waste of resources if there is an unemployment, since it indicates that available resource is not being used, which is the labor. The labor is not used to produce the maximum outputs. So, how do we determine whether Malaysia has achieved the first objective or not? We will refer to the indicator, which is the unemployment rate set by the World Bank. The World Bank has set the unemployment rate to be under 4%. According to the World Bank data, in 2019, Malaysia's unemployment rate was 3.3%. This indicates that Malaysia has achieved the full employment level.
Hi and Assalamualaikum to my fellow friends. My name is Christina and I will be briefing you guys about the second objectives of macroeconomics, which is equitable distribution of income. It simply means that one nation's income should be well distributed among its society. The word equitable means that one person should have an equal standard way of living among others. To do so, one country should control the inequality of income distribution in their country by reducing the income gap between the high income group of people and the low income group of people. In fiscal policy, it has suggested 2 things. First, in order to reduce the income gap, the country should redistribute the income of the country to the society. Second, for who earn more should pay more tax. The tax earned by the government will then be channeled to the less fortunate as a welfare assistance. Since we have known what equitable distribution of income means and how to achieve it, let's look at our country's achievement. How do we know if our country has achieved it? For your information, the World Bank has provided us with the standard of measurement to know if our country has achieved these objectives or not. It is to compare the country's revenue and its expenditure. If the revenue exceeds the expenditure, that means that the country has achieved the objectives, and otherwise. Malaysia's revenue in 2019 has been recorded to be 312.7 billion ringgit Malaysian, but unfortunately, its revenue has been recorded to be 317 billion ringgit Malaysian. So, to bring it into conclusion, in 2019, Malaysia does not achieve these objectives of macroeconomics of equitable distribution of income. This shall end my presentation. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nurin Khalisha Ramzi, and today, together with me as your next presenter, I will explain to you another macroeconomic objective, which is equilibrium in foreign sector. Foreign sector refers to economic transactions or activities that are beyond political boundaries. It includes transactions such as import and export, investment, and also inter-country tourism. So let's take our country for example. Imagine Malaysia has imported some goods from Singapore, like electrical equipment from Singapore. So that is what foreign sector is. It is a transaction between one country and another country. Next, let's get into the real definition of equilibrium in foreign sector. To achieve this macroeconomic objective, a country must have a balance in transaction of international trade. So how to determine the equilibrium in foreign sector? Earlier, I have mentioned about BOP. So what is exactly BOP? BOP means balance of payment. It is a statement or it is an account that records the international transaction between one country and the rest of the world. Therefore, we can see that BOP is actually a tool for us in determining the equilibrium in foreign sector. So based on the latest data of international trade of Malaysia in January 2020, the amount of export is higher than the amount of import. This indicates that Malaysia has achieved a stable economy in Q1 of 2020 in terms of equilibrium of foreign sector, because the amount of exports that has been made by Malaysia is higher than import.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I am Nurliana binti Muhammad Anifa, and I'm going to present to you guys another conventional objective of macroeconomics, which is price stability. Firstly, what is price stability? Price stability is a goal of monetary aiming to support sustainable rates of economic activity. Price stability is very important to keep inflation rate as low as possible. Inflation occurs when there is an increase in general price level and directly will reduce the purchasing power of consumer. It happened because when price increase, the demand of the goods and services will be reduced. Hence, the quantity of goods and services purchased will be less if inflation is high. Inflation may lead to income not rising as fast as prices. Pensioners and fixed income earners will be affected as it will worsen their real income with persistent price increase. For example, pensioners, the pension they receive every month is fixed at lower amount, but still they have to pay some bills and buy the necessities they need to keep alive. I could say increase in price doesn't affect the higher income earner at all, since most of them buy whatever they want, no matter how pricey they are. Otherwise, it gives big impact to the lower income earner, since they have no choice other than buying the most affordable one. They have to spend their money wisely. But to be a developed country, the country must increase their price level year by year. How to determine whether Malaysia achieved price stability or not? We have to look at the indicator, which is inflation rate that has been set by the World Bank. It states that inflation rate of a country must be below 4%. In 2019, Malaysia's inflation rate is 0.66%, which is clearly achieved the price stability objective. That's all from me.
Hi guys, so my name is Muhammad Fitri Marazi, and today I will explain about the last objective of macroeconomics, which is economic growth. So what is economic growth? Economic growth can be described as an expansion in national output over a given period of time. This economic growth can be measured by calculating the percentage increase in national income for the current year compared to the previous year. The economy must be operating at optimal capacity to get higher economic growth. But you need to remember, economic growth will not move constantly because it will experience short-term ups and downs called business cycles. As you can see here, the business cycle is divided into 4 categories, which is expansion, recession, peak, and trough. What it is, you don't know, I will explain. Okay, further expansion is where the economy is healing, where the aggregate output is expand. Total employment, total sales, and total production will experience growth in the real term. As you can see, it's increasing. But for recession is the vice versa. For expansion is when the aggregate output is declined, laying off workers, and will create unemployment crisis. As you can see right now in COVID-19, a lot of people get fired, so it's kind of like recession because it's declining. For the peak is where the highest point of business cycles, where the business be operating at almost full capacity and almost full employment, as we can see on the top of the graph. So I think you can guess what is truth is. Okay, truth, yes, truth is the vice versa for the peak, which is the lowest point of the business cycles, where the business operating at lower capacity and unemployment is very high and very high. So that's all for business cycles. So how are we going to know the economy of nation is growing or not? As I said before, we can measure it by calculating the percentage increase in national income for the current year compared to the previous year. For example, Malaysia. We can see the real GDP for 2018 is 4.7%, but for 2019 is 4.2%. So it's decreasing. So it means that Malaysia didn't achieve the economic growth. Thank you for me.